Hey, folks. Uh, I keep getting asked to look at and talk about the Netflix series She's Gotta Have It. Now, the original movie I saw back in 1986 in a small theater, like over 30 years ago. And a lot has changed since 1986 and 2017, especially with third wave feminism coming in and where basically second wave feminism actually wreaking havoc on the male psyche, and then the third wave feminism coming in since 2010. And this is a much different She's Gotta Have It than the one I saw in 1986. In 1986, it was kind of unusual to have three open relationships with a woman, where guys actually kind of knew about each other, in a sense. Now, having one woman having sex with three different guys is one thing, but having a relationship, and women always focus on sex. A woman having sex or having sex with more than one guy is not unusual, especially in the Black community. But a woman having a relationship with three different guys is kind of unusual, because it's very difficult for a woman to bond to three people. And that is what you see a lot of in She's Gotta Have It. The difficulty with her trying to bond to three different guys or have a relationship with three different men. Men can do it because men compartmentalize a little better than women can. And try as she might, Nola can't seem to compartmentalize like a man can, even though she's trying to be in a man's role. And this is basically what this is, a woman trying to be in a man's role and flipping it on its head. But there's huge differences in it's almost like a 180 in between the movie and then the reboot in the series. In the original movie, it was three guys vying for her attention in masculine form, almost like three different animuses, as a chorus, one trying to dominate the other and possess her. Now, I've only watched maybe 2.5 episodes, but so far I can tell you that the masculinity, whether you want to call it toxic or normal, is sorely missing in these first 2 episodes, because I'm going to tell you, it was kind of hard to get through. Let's start with the most obvious. Now, in the movie, Jamie Overstreet was depicted as a blue collar guy, a regular hard-working blue collar guy that happened to be the, as they say, the alpha male, strong, dominant character, plain talk, straight ahead. He told her how he felt and what he would allow. But in this particular show, I have to say, Jamie Overstreet is a simp. He is a very emotional, even though he's wealthy. No, he's wealthy. He's not a blue collar guy. He's wealthy. He is what Sergeant Willie P would call an on-point simp. Almost, I don't know if he's a Masters of the Universe. He doesn't seem like a Masters of the Universe, but he is a corporate guy. I would call he would be Lawrence before Lawrence found his balls. Evidently he's in an unhappy marriage, and he's so hungry for love or hungry for a relationship that he actually backs down from Nola. You see him almost begging for her attention, which I guess is the point where you have where you have all female writers. This is how they write men, but I'll get to that later. The second one is Greer. I can't remember his first name, but Greer is the narcissist. Now, in the movie, Greer was the rich, wealthy narcissist. In this particular series, he's not wealthy. He's working class. I don't know. He's a little bit above working class. He's not the masters of the universe that he's not the masters of the universe that he was in the movie. In fact, I don't know, can a simp be a narcissist? Because his vanity borderlines on almost feminine. The way he takes selfies of himself, he grooms his hair, even when he lifts his weights, and he congratulates himself, and how he talks to Nola, am I the best you ever been? Do I lay it down better than anybody else? It's almost feminine. Where even in the movie, now he was self-absorbed and he was a narcissist, but the thing is, he was trying to bring her up. He was trying to possess her. You know, he was arrogant. He was extremely arrogant. But I'm saying it was a different kind of arrogance. It was a masculine arrogant. And not, I would say Greer in this one is almost like a borderline homosexual. The way he folded his clothes, the way he performed, the way he slid on his knees, the way he mussed with his hair, and the way she looked at him like, you know, it almost looks, you know, the way she was acting, it would almost look like how a man does when a woman is primping for a date and you're late. And she had that kind of reaction toward him. She had that patronizing look toward him, like, get out of the mirror and let's go. We know, you know, in this series, we know who wears the pants in this particular series. If the roles were reversed, I would say Nola Darling is mode 1. She'd be a mode 1 character. She has the masculine character in this particular show. Now, I'm just giving you my overall thoughts. I'll get into the characters and all that kind of stuff after the next one, in the overview. I had to watch it again because we'll get into that. Let's just finish up with, you know, with my overall thoughts. And the same thing with Mars Blackman. Now, Mars Blackman in the movie, he was street dude. He was straight up street dude. He's fun loving, but he was street dude. You know, down to his at the time, he was broke, down to his worn out tennis shoes and his fast street talking jive. Morris Blackman was that. In this one, Morris Blackman is more like a kid, more like a child, playful child, tells jokes, has a good time. But there's versions of him where the women wanted to shoo him out of the room, like he was a pest. And I got that feeling how women patronize him because he was funny. He's funny like a geek or a nerdy kid that make you laugh. That's just so it was over the top with his gold grill, his over the top chains, his over the top clothes, his over the top talking about his Jordans. He didn't represent, in the movie, Spike Lee, represented like a mid-20s kid. Not kid, but a young man. A street dude. He said what he said. He's fast talking, but this one seemed like a precocious child. Instead of being, he was the closest one to the original character. I guess you couldn't do much with it. To get his women, he had to be funny because he's small. He's kind of offbeat. But that is the biggest switch that I've seen, the power dynamic. In the original one, the men were trying to, wield their power on her to possess her. But in this show, you see the power dynamic switch on his head where she possesses them. She talks a lot of shit just like a man. I think she was laying in bed with Jamie in the bed, and when I think Morris did call, and she basically told him this is what it is. There's other guys. It is what it is, and that's basically the end of it. And we already talked about this, which is almost like a father would talk to a child. In other words, stay in your place if you want to be here. Which I couldn't see. And guess what he did? He piped down. He shut up because it's like a lovesick puppy, just like an on-point simp, and he told her a poem. Which the very next day with I'll get into it in the series. But I'm just saying a lot of stuff that went on that I didn't like about it. If a woman's going to be empowered, I don't mind a woman being empowered. If women want to be, I am woman, hear me roar, I can get that. I can get with that. You know, there was a lot of feminist speeches. A lot of this was a lot of feminist declarations all strung together, and they tried to make a storyline out of these feminist declarations, out of these feminist vignettes that you're trying to keep a consistent story going, and which is difficult to kind of make heads or tails of it, which you should be able to do if you have 10 episodes. It's not like you have a 2-hour movie. The 2-hour movie actually did more to tell a story than the episodes I've seen so far. They're too busy giving statements and epithets and feminist talking points to actually tell a story, which I find troubling or find annoying. Let's put it that way. I don't need to have feminism slapped upside my head every 2 minutes in a story, or bringing up that this is feminism and it's changed, you know, every 2 minutes in a story. And I wish that the difference I see between this and Insecure that they talk about is that Insecure, for whatever reason, I think is because you do have male writers on the staff, that they insist on authentic male characters, which for a woman's show is unusual, which is why I think men gravitate to Insecure a little bit more, because the male characters that you see are real. They're flawed, you know, they're doggish, they talk shit, but the thing is they're real. And so when you see real male characters up against real women characters, you get an authentic story. And I think this one is too stylized. It's stylized to appeal to feminism and feminists. And it doesn't have the freshness or the appeal that, say, Insecure does. Insecure, even though it was 30 minutes, it didn't drag. It's almost like it's too short because you're just getting into the meat of the characters and then it's over. But this, it's like they're not really getting into characters. They're declaring something from 1 minute to the next because the characters are not going up against something real. They're, you know, I know Spike Lee likes to have archetypes, and what you have in this one are archetypes. I mean, we're not even talking about real archetypes, saying real words, a real everyday dialogue. These are hip, snooty, Yale or Harvard sounding black folks going from one declaration to the next instead of dealing with real life. And I think the reason that you don't get real life is because you don't have authentic male characters. All the male characters in this are weak, sometimes borderline simpish. In fact, I had to pause it because the simpishness was so syrupy and sweet, and the guys were so, I would say borderline feminine. But I'll get into that and the character sketches when I actually do the first episode. I got to watch the first episode again because I have to. The first time I watched it, I didn't get a feel for it. It was like it was over feminized. So I have to tune down my original reaction to it and actually dissect it, because there is a lot there. And I don't think that you can actually dissect a Spike Lee anything 20 minutes or 30 minutes or however, because it will probably just take too long to actually break down each particular piece, almost line by line or speech by speech. So I'm not going to attempt to do that, but I will attempt to kind of take these four main characters, if I can, give them a little bit of depth if I can, and try to string together some sort of story that I'm not quite sure exactly where this particular series or story is going. Hopefully it kind of parallels the movie a little bit to where there's some kind of conclusion, even though at the end, I think it's going to be just as ambiguous as it started. But that's all I got. This is for UG1. You finally convinced me to actually review this, because trust and believe, after seeing the first episode, I probably wouldn't, but I am kind of committed to actually go through it. I am going to try to go through all 10 episodes if I can. I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I'll try. With that, I'm going to bounce out of here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.